Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year. I'm the Uncle Brother One himself, Mr. Brett Carroll, and I'm just a guy that looks BSN at work. Like I said, Happy New Year. I know it's been a while. This is the first video of 2024, at least the first video that I'm recording. If everything goes well, this might not even be the first video you see, but this is the first video I'm recording since 2024. I moved. So as you can tell, the background's different. Yeah, I had to move. It was a whole ordeal. So we're back. We're set up. We're ready to go, ready to give you this great content. And I'm starting off with our Pittsburgh Steelers offseason plan. Let's get into it. We got a lot to discuss. So let's just get on into it. All right, we had another disappointing season. As you guys know, I'm not happy. I was very excited about the season. I told y'all this was going to be a pivotal season for us for a lot of reasons. We wanted to see where we're at with Kenny Pickett. Those questions have not been answered. We'll get into that in a second. And we just wasted a year, man. Very easy schedule, a schedule that if we did what we were supposed to do, we should have won 12 plus games. Um, period. We should have won 12 plus games, and we should have been in a better position to win a playoff game. Um, but per usual, we barely made it by the hair of our chinny chin chin as the 7th seed and got blown out on the road to the 2 seed, which has been the case the last few times we made the playoffs. And it's just frustrating because it shouldn't have happened like that. It just shouldn't have happened like that. And the biggest thing that's frustrating is before the season, I said, hey, listen, the schedule, you have a very easy path to the playoffs because while everybody else that you're competing against has a much harder schedule than you do, you've been gift wrapped this great schedule. And then come to find out, the AFC wasn't even as strong as we thought it was going to be, right? The Chiefs were up and down this year. The Bills were up and down this year. Cincinnati's season got off to a rough start and they never gained momentum. The Jets season ended 2 plays into the season. The Chargers took a step back. The Jaguars ended up not making the playoffs. That's why you don't mess with the towel. You should know better. Um, Even a team like the Patriots, who at least in the last few years have been a team that's been like flirting with, playoff contention, they were flat out horrible this year, right? So the AFC as a whole still wasn't that good. Now, granted, Houston and Indianapolis came out of nowhere and they were pretty good this year. Houston won the division and CJ Stroud is already a star, and Indianapolis won 9 games. Granted, and even Denver played a lot better than we thought. Okay, so it's kind of giveth and taketh type of situation, but still, this year set up beautifully for the Steelers to take advantage of their schedule and maybe just maybe make a long postseason run. Again, never thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. Never expected us to win the Super Bowl. Never thought we were a legit Super Bowl contender. But what people don't understand is football is different from any other sport. Your schedule matters. If you have an easy schedule and you take advantage of an easy schedule, you could put yourself in position to win playoff football games. And if you win playoff football games, you can go on a long run and mess around and win the Super Bowl. Again, I'm not saying we should have won the Super Bowl, but I thought at the very least we should have put ourselves in a position to have an easy first playoff game that we could win and at least stop the playoff win drought. And we didn't do that. And if you don't believe me, we won 10 games. Those 3 games we lost in a row, 2 of them were to 2-win teams. If we win those games, the last game of the season, we're playing Baltimore for not just the division, but for the number 1 seed in the conference and a bye. And that's what I'm saying. You see how different your season looks if you would have had a bye and you're playing whoever the 7th seed would have been, which would have been probably Jacksonville or something, and the way they're playing, you know what I mean? So it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating all around. Um And it's one of those things where, again, some things were definitely on Mike Tomlin, but not all things were. The offense was horrible, absolutely horrible. Matt Canada is the worst offense coordinator I've ever seen in my life. Not his plays suck, his play calling sucks, but more importantly, his play philosophy sucks. I talked about it on this pod. I'm not gonna dive into it. But his philosophy of everything having to be horizontal and nothing vertical makes no sense. This isn't high school. This isn't, oh, I have the fastest guy in the field. So if I just keep running jet sweeps and reverses, nobody's going to catch him. Like, this is NFL football. Everybody runs a 4.4 or better. You can't just think that you're going to outspeed everybody going side to side. That's not how this works. But that was Mike T's guy. That was Mike T's guy. He gave him a chance when he didn't even deserve a chance. If you look at his college numbers weren't even that good. So this was a guy that Mike T was very fond of, had a personal relationship, wanted to give him a chance. And not only did he give him a chance, but they gave him every opportunity to succeed, and he just was not good because he shouldn't have had the job in the first place. So that's on Mike Tomlin because the offense killed us this year. And what's not on Mike Tomlin, what I'm not going to blame Mike Tomlin for is Mitch Trubisky was just horrible. Mitch Trubisky was the worst quarterback in football this year. And in a year where that was dominated by the storylines of backup quarterbacks, Mitch Trubisky was the only backup quarterback that came in and couldn't get the job done. He was the only backup quarterback that came in and looked like he just didn't even belong, which is insane because this guy was the second overall pick in the draft. This guy was mildly successful for some years in Chicago. This dude went and sat behind Josh Allen. This dude was a starter last year. I just, for the life of me, I don't blame anybody for not knowing that he was going to be that bad. He looks like he can't even play football anymore. And he's still a young dude. So that I'm not putting on Mike Tomlin. That is all just Mr. Trubisky just not being prepared for his moment. That's not on my team. But the offense being bad is overall is because Matt Canada held us back and probably even held Mr. Trubisky back. I'll give Mr. Trubisky maybe some credit. Maybe if he's on a different team with a different offensive system, maybe he's better. But still, yeah. So this is another disappointing season, and Mike T's in the crosshairs again. And speaking of, let's talk about it. There were the rumors that maybe he would step down, step away. As of right now, those rumors are quashed. He told the team that he will be back. Um, I'm not surprised at all, and I agree with the decision. I really do. Like, I'm really 50-50 with Mike T. I love him to death as a person, as a human being, as a leader of men. But and nobody's perfect. Like even the great Bill Belichick, his flaws have been exposed a lot over the last few years. Um, and when you don't have the GOAT, you kind of look average, right? So nobody's perfect, but at the same time, I'm very there's some things about Mike Tomlin that just drive me and Steeler fans crazy because some of this stuff is the same thing every year. And again, it's usually this mix of, well, some of this stuff isn't his fault, but the other stuff is. And it's one of those weird things where do we overachieve every year or do we underachieve every year? Because when you look at the roster and the fact that we don't have a quarterback, the fact that we even make the playoffs is a miracle. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but this roster isn't that bad that we can never be better than what we are. We can never be better than a 9 or 10 win team, right? Again, this year we should have easily won 12 plus games, period. You lost to two 2-10 teams at home back to back. That's unacceptable. Again, I understand Mr. Trubisky was horrible, but that's just unacceptable. Um, and it's not the first time stuff like that has happened to us under Mike T's tutelage. Like we're a team that does well when we're the underdogs, but when we're expected to win, we lose. We don't do well with prosperity. That's on Mike T. Again, he's been here 17 years. This isn't a new issue since Ben Roethlisberger's been gone. That happened even when Big Ben was here. We'd mess around and lose 2 games a year that we had no business losing. So, there's a lot of things that Mike T does and doesn't do that's great and that, also bothers people. So, but yeah, with that being said, I agree with the decision. Bring him back. Um, unless they get a trade offer that they cannot refuse. Um, I doubt that's gonna happen. This is a great coaching cycle. Mike Vrabel's available, Bill Belichick's available, Jim Harbaugh's available. There's some young offensive coordinators that we all believe are gonna be great head coaches available. So unless somebody really just wants Mike Tomlin and they're trying to get like a culture setter and stuff like that, because he is great at that. You got to give him that. I doubt somebody's going to give up the compensation necessary to get a guy like Mike Tomlin, especially if he only has 1 year left on his deal. They might hire some lame duck head coach and hope that Mike T walks away next year and just try to sign him next year. Um, but you never know. You never know. If somebody calls, you got to listen. You have to listen. I'm not saying that you go ahead and pick up the phone and shop him, but if the phone rings and there's people calling him about Mike T, you have to at least be willing to listen to what they're about to offer you. Now, again, I doubt that happens. There's way too many quality coaches in this cycle. This is one of the greatest coaching cycles we've ever seen in recent memory in terms of candidates. Um, but at the same time, and on top of that, the only couple teams that I can see doing it is Washington. But again, if you're Washington, you're not going to give up the second pick in the draft from IT. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm not giving him up for anything other than the second pick of the draft. Um, and the other team I can think of is maybe the Panthers. David Tepper was a minority owner with Pittsburgh. Now, I don't know if that means he likes Mike Tomlin or not. There's always been those rumors that the Rooneys like Tomlin more than some of the other minority owners like Tomlin. So I don't know if he's part of that group that didn't like Mike Tomlin. But if you're David Tepper and you have this bad reputation of no stability and no culture, maybe you do want a Mike Tomlin to reset that. And like, I mean, I'll give him credit. He gave Matt Rule a 7 year deal. He had every intention of creating a lasting culture and foundation with the Panthers. Matt Rule is just horrible, and he had no choice but to fire him 2.5 years into his deal, right? So maybe he wants to do that with Mike Tomlin. Try again, give him a 7 year deal where he can reset the culture. The problem with that is they don't even have a first round pick. And yes, they have the first pick in the second round, and that would be awesome. We saw it firsthand having what having the first pick in the second round can do for you. But is that enough to get Mike Tomlin? And if you're the Panthers, you can't even afford to give up more than that, right? You don't have a first round pick this year. If you give up the first pick in the second round, you're not gonna have a second round pick. Are you going to give up that pick and a future first? Are you going to give up that pick and more picks in this year's draft? You know what I mean? They need a lot on their roster. I don't even as good as Mike T is, I don't think any coach is worth the Panthers giving up all those draft picks to get him because they need draft picks. So again, I just don't see what team that would be that picks up the phone and calls for Mike Tomlin. That's just me. I could be wrong. The phone could be buzzing off the hook. And if it is, they need to pick it up and hear people out. Because if we can get extra draft picks for Mike T, then Mike T, I'm sorry, I love you, brother. But yeah, again, if Washington is dumb enough to give us that second pick in the draft, I think you do that without question. Well, the second pick of the draft, come on, you have to. You have to at that point. So that's my thought on that. Hey everyone. Well, in just typical fashion, after I recorded the original video, the news came out that Mike Tomlin is going to get a contract extension. So cool. That speculation is over. He's going to get a contract extension, which means he'll be here for the foreseeable future. Again, unless they get a trade request that they like. I still say, and matter of fact, that might actually help the matter of them getting a trade request that they like now that they know that they're going to have Mike Tomlin on contract for a number of years already. Yeah, it sounds like Mike Tomlin is getting a contract extension. All right, cool. Back to the video. All right, so let's think about what we need to do. This is what we need to do in order. These are the rankings, in my opinion, of what we need. First is offense coordinator. It goes without saying we need to get an offensive coordinator. I think it came out today, this morning, I believe, that they are going to go outside for an offensive coordinator. They're not going to hire within. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because that's been part of the problem. We kept recycling coaches in the Steeler organization, and it's like, bro, that's not working. Go out and get somebody innovative. Go out and get someone that's running offenses that are successful in this league. Go out and get offenses that could play to Kenny Pickett's strength. He was a first round pick 2 years ago, right? And you still don't know what you have in him. Go get somebody that can utilize this guy and make him a better quarterback. So that's number one priority. We have to get an offensive coordinator. Especially since Mike Tomlin's coming back. So now head coach is not on the list of things we need. We need an offensive coordinator. Two, we need to fix the O line. We need a tackle, we need a center, and then we could probably use another guard. But if nothing else, we need a tackle and we need a center. Those, to me, those are the two biggest needs we have. That's why I have it all on one line. They could be one and two, center and tackle and center. But that needs to be the priority that we pick, right? Third, like I said, O line is center and tackle. So third on this list is corner. We need another corner. Joey Porter Jr. was great. He looks like he's gonna be a star in this league, and that's awesome. But we need somebody alongside of him. Patrick Peterson's too old. I know we're trying him at safety. That's great. Um, Leverage Levi Wallace is one of the worst corners I've ever seen. I never want to see him on my football team again. Um, yeah, we need another corner without question. We need more linebackers. We guys, it's been a decade. Think about this. It's been a decade now that we've been looking for a linebacker. We drafted Ryan Shazier in 2014, a decade ago. And unfortunately, he got hurt 2 years into his season. I mean, into his career. But think about it. It's been so long that even if Ryan Shazier never got hurt, we still might be looking for linebackers by now because he probably would have been retiring around now. It's been a 10-year career, right? That's how long it's been since we've needed a linebacker, and we cannot find inside linebackers to save our lives. We need an inside linebacker. Um, and then strong safety. Again, we put Patrick Peterson back there towards the end of the year because of all the injuries. He played decent at that position. That's probably better for him at this stage of his career. But still, we need a long-term answer alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick. Um, so that's important. I put QB with an asterisk. Again, realistically, I don't think we're going to be able to get a quarterback. I mean, you could get a Russell Wilson. Um, or Kirk Cousins, and they both probably come pretty cheap. And so, fine, if you can sign one of those guys, okay, and have them compete with Kenny for this, and hopefully Mason for the starting job, cool. All right, cool. For those people that are saying, "Oh, it's Mason's job, it's Mason's job," guys, like, please don't be prisoner of the moment. Please don't do that. Like, let me remind y'all, before this year, the last time we saw Mason Rudolph, he couldn't even beat the Detroit Lions at home. And the Detroit Lions were the worst team in football that year. That was before they even had Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. That was the last time when we gave Mason Rudolph the full starting position. That's how bad he was. That's why he was third on the depth chart. So all these Steelers fans talking about, oh, why didn't they never give Mason a chance? We knew Mason was good. Stop it. You're living in the moment. Mason was horrible the last time we saw him as a starting quarterback for our team. He was horrible. But he played great this year. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Again, a lot of backups played this year, and a lot of them played well. And they usually had 2 or 3 weeks in the spotlight. And then guess what? They all came crashing back down to earth. Mason had his 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, he played okay. Now, granted, both of them, the weather conditions were horrible, so I'm not holding that against him. But the point of the matter is, I have seen nothing that makes me think if Mason Rudolph is our starting quarterback next year, that we're going to be a better football team. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I've seen nothing that's to suggest that. Now, I will say this, to be fair to Mason, I do think our roster fits his skill set better than when he was our quarterback before. He wants to throw deep balls. That's what he is. He's a old school, um, stand in the pocket, launching deep balls, quarterback. And with George Pickens and even Calvin Austin, that fits his skill set better than when he had Juju and Deontay and James Washington, because none of those guys were real deep threats. Um, Even James Washington, who was his buddy in college, who was a deep threat, he was a college deep threat. The dude was too slow and too short to be a real deep threat in the NFL. And so I don't know why the Steelers even drafted him. Um, but yeah, so I'm not a Mason truther. I do believe he deserves to be able to come back. I do believe he deserves a chance to compete for the starting job. I don't think he or Kenny should be just given the starting job. I'll say that. But those two dudes should be able to come back and compete. And then, like I said, if you want to bring in another veteran like Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins to compete for it, fine by me, because they'll be cheap and best man wins, right? But it's got to be a best man wins mentality. It should not be, well, this guy's our starting quarterback no matter what. It's got to be best man up mentality, um, or best man wins mentality. Uh, I don't want to trade for Justin Fields. Again, we have so many needs. We can't afford to trade draft picks for Justin Fields. I don't want to trade up for a quarterback. Again, we have too many needs. We can't afford to waste draft picks trading up for a quarterback. I don't want to draft a quarterback in round one. When we're drafting, I don't want to draft QB 4 or 5. No. Stick with what we have. Again, if you want to add a cheap veteran in the offseason, go ahead. But see what an offensive coordinator can do for both Kenny or Mason, right? We've seen it. Offensive coordinators are important now. Let's see what we have in those guys with a better offense coordinator. And yes, y'all know I'm not the biggest Kenny fan. I don't think he's our future anyway. But I'm also a big believer in get your team together first, and then if we need to in next year's draft or maybe 2026, if quarterback is our only need, then you could go ahead and trade up and get a quarterback because at that point the rest of your team is solidified. So that's how I feel about the quarterback position. Um, uh, yeah, so that's what I think about that. And then I also put defensive line with two asterisks on it. That's only if Cam Hayward retires this year. I hope not. He's weighing his options. Hopefully, we'll learn soon what he's going to do. Either way, we're probably going to need one soon. Obviously, if he's at that stage of his career where retirement is going to be on the table every single year, right? So you kind of want to have his replacement before he retires. Now, DeMarvin Leal is still on the team. He's still a young guy that maybe they're hoping they could develop into his replacement, but he's kind of lost his job. Like Larry Ogunjobi's been playing well. Keanu Benton was a beast for us, so he's out. Those two guys are obviously going to be there long term. We'll see how big of a role Leal has in this year. Um, but still, I don't know. Uh, But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, we have too many needs for me to say let's get one this year, unless one a good one really falls to us later in the draft. I don't think we should be thinking defensive line yet. I think we should focus on everything else. Hope that Cam Hayward comes back, and if he retires next year, then yeah, defensive line will probably be at the top of the list of stuff that we need, assuming that we fix everything else this season. All right, there's too many issues, right? One, these needs, um, these needs need to be addressed in the draft. I checked. I don't think we're gonna have that much cap space, but obviously we haven't cut anybody yet, traded anybody yet, restructured contracts, so who knows what our cap space is gonna look like. But as of right now, it doesn't look like we're gonna have much cap space. But Omar Khan is supposed to be a capologist, so I'm sure he'll do something to fix the cap space a little bit. Um, Other problem is, with that being said, we don't have a lot of prime draft picks, right? We have a first, we have a second, we have a third, we have two fourths. Those are usually your meat and potato picks on what you can expect of players to not only make your team, but have an impact, right? Um, And also the way this draft is, unfortunately, we're gonna have to make some tough decisions. So in the first round, we have to go tackle or corner. Those are the only two options. Uh, and you have to probably do it by best player available. But here's the problem. If you go corner, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to like the tackles that are left by the time you draft in the second round. However, corner might be the better player. Like you might be looking at corner three as opposed to, I think we have like the 23rd pick in the draft. So you might be looking at corner three instead of tackle five, right? So, but if you but if you pass on tackle five for corner three, you might not like tackle 8, 9, 10 by the time you draft again. So that's iffy. As opposed to if you take a tackle, the corners are weird because there's a lot of good corners, but there's like a major drop off. Like once the first like six corners are taken, there's a huge drop off between like the first five or six and the next five or six. So you are still running a risk, right? So in round one, you might say, well, there's a bunch of corners left. There's not a lot of tackles left. So let's take a tackle. But if there's a run on corner towards the end of the first, early second, by the time you draft again, you might not like the corners that are left. And by the way, when I say tackle five, here's the one good thing. By Broderick Jones playing right tackle this year, we have choices. We could either take a left tackle and keep Broderick Jones on the right, or we could take a right tackle and switch Broderick Jones back to the left. So we have flexibility there. So when I say tackle five, to me in the first round, there's five guys that I want. Obviously, Joel Olufashanu, uh, J.C. Latham, Amarius Mims, and I think his name is Talisa Fuega from Oregon State. Those are the five guys I would want in the first round. After that, it gets a little dicey. I have more second round grades on the other guys. Um, but if two of them are left tackles, and those two, and that's Joel Olufashanu, they'll probably be gone early. So we probably have no chance of getting them. But there are three right tackles, J.C. Latham from Alabama, Amarius Mims from Georgia, who played with Broderick Jones. That's who I want the most. And Tuisa Fuaga from Oregon State. If one of those three guys falls to us at 23, which is possible, you're really looking at tackle five, but it's really right tackle three, or it might be left tackle two, depending on if Joel or Olufashanu, for whatever reason, fall to us. Talent falls in the draft. It happens all the time. If people, especially in this draft, if people go crazy for the quarterbacks early, who knows what talent's going to keep falling, 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 falling. So at 23, there's a good chance you're looking at tackle five and corner maybe two, maybe even three. I would still go tackle five if it's me. Um, but then again, your second round pick is going to be very interesting. Do you take a corner? Do you take a linebacker? Do you take a center? Um, Again, it's going to be depending on how the board is falling. Because again, another problem is linebackers. I don't really like a lot of the linebackers in this class. It's not a good linebacker class. Um, so you might have to take a linebacker at two, or you might have to skip it. You might have to, I have a bad feeling that as bad as we want a linebacker, that probably will be a need that doesn't get addressed till 2025, at least in the draft. Again, free agency, who knows? But yeah, to me, there's not a lot of linebackers. And in the second round, I think I would rather go corner or center before I go linebacker. So you're really hoping that a good one falls to you in the third round. I don't know. So with that being said, I think the best solution is trade back, right? If the draft gods are as good to us this year as they were to us last year, and they were phenomenal last year, and I can't even ask them to be any better. They were phenomenal. The amount of talent that kept falling to us last year was incredible. But let's just say at least for round 1 and 2, right? At least for those 2 rounds. Let's just say even for those 2 rounds alone, talent keeps falling to us. I would love for us to trade back a little bit, like a small trade back. Because if you trade back at all in the first round, you're going to at least get a third round pick, right? So if we trade back, let's say we're 23, let's say we trade back to 26 or 27, get a third round pick out of the deal. So now let's say by 26, 27, you're definitely looking at corner at that point. I highly doubt the tackles will be there. So fine, you get your corner in round 1. And your second round pick, I think you have to go tackle and hope that one of those other decent left tackles are there in the second round. Cool. But now you have 2 third round picks and 2 fourth round picks. So now if you get your corner and you get your tackle with your 2 third round picks, you could probably go center and then again hope that the draft gods are good to you and go linebacker. So now your biggest needs are all taken care of before the fourth round even happens. And fourth round, you get to play best player available, safety. If you want a quarterback, that's another thing I meant to mention with the quarterback thing and drafting a quarterback. If Joe Milton is available in the fourth round, you take him. Y'all know me. I have one guy every year where I said, look, if he's in the fourth round, you just take him. Joe Milton's that guy. He's Anthony Richardson light. Dude can fling the football 90 yards like it's nothing. He's a phenomenal runner. But obviously he's very raw. Needs to work in his mechanics. He's Anthony Richardson, just not as dynamic as Anthony Richardson was. Um, and he's a guy, if he's there in the fourth round, go ahead and take him. Just go ahead and take him, no matter what you still need, no matter what the situation is. Go ahead and take him in the fourth round. I doubt he'll be there in the fourth round simply because a lot of quarterbacks didn't come out. Quinn Ewers didn't come out. Shador Sanders didn't come out. Who else didn't come out? Carson Beck, I think, didn't come out, I believe. So yeah, there are a lot of good quarterbacks didn't come out. So now where he would have been like QB 10, he's like QB 6. And I doubt, and because there's so many teams that need quarterbacks, I highly doubt he falls to the fourth round. Again, the draft gods could be good to us. If he's there in the fourth round, I don't care what's going on, you take him because his upside is crazy, and you take him. That's the only way I would draft a quarterback in the first 4 rounds. Now, again, if Michael Pratt or somebody is there in the sixth round, sure, but first 4 rounds, I need us to hit those major needs. I need us to hit those major needs, and I would love for us to trade back in the first round, get an extra first, or I mean, get an extra third, or maybe even second round, depending on how far you move back. First or second or third round pick. That way, you have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. I would love that. Or I'm sorry, 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. I would love that. That's what we need to do. Omar Khan is in your hands, brother. That's what we're gonna have to do. That's what we're gonna have to do. So, but that's the video, y'all. Appreciate you. Uh, I'm not as optimistic as I was last year. Last year, I figured we were gonna have a great draft, and we did. Last year, I knew we were gonna have a great schedule, and we did. Last year, I thought we were gonna make the playoffs, and we did. This year, again, we're in a really precarious position in our draft position. We don't have the draft picks that we had last year, in which case I knew we would be able to take advantage of. This year, we're going to really have to hope we get lucky in terms of players that fall to us. Um, Next year's schedule is going to be brutal. So yeah, we're next year's going to be interesting. Next year, I can really see if we don't kill it in the offseason. Next year, I can see us finally having a losing season. And then if you're Mike Tomlin, what do you do? Do you walk away? Is that how you want your Steelers tenure to end, to finally have a losing season? Or again, or we can kill it. Again, if you get a great offensive coordinator that can bring out the very best in Kenny Pickett, so we at least have a competent offense, a consistent offense. If we kill it in the draft again, talent does fall in the draft. That's what happens, right? Especially we haven't even gotten to the pajama, I call it the pajama party, right? Where these guys run around in their freaking underwear and we ooh and ah about how high they jump and how fast they run, right? So that hasn't happened yet. Who knows? Who knows? Talent might fall in our lap again this year, and we might have an A plus draft, right? Who knows? But as of right now, I'm not as confident in that because where we have needs in some places, this draft isn't that deep in. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get the places we want. Um, yeah. There's also a possibility of us not taking a corner. If we take a tackle in the first round and we're not in love with the corners in the second round, but the best linebackers on the board, we might take a linebacker. I can see that. We do have Corey Trice, and if y'all remember my video from last year, that was my favorite pick in the draft. That was to me the steal of the entire draft. He got hurt, so we never got a chance to see him this year. But they might say, depending on how the board falls, they might say, you know what, let's just hope that this kid is good. I doubt that's not a smart idea because he still was a seventh round pick and he is coming off of a knee surgery. Um, but again, he was a guy that I had a second round grade on, and we got him in the seventh round, mostly because of injuries, right? Injury concerns. So it's not the most ideal thing in the world, but I don't know. To me, I guess my point is if I'm drafting, my priority is offense. Get this offensive line together, please. We need to have a balanced offense. We need to have a balanced offense. Our defense, even the way it is now, it's not perfect, but our defense, I think, is good enough where if we had a good offense to complement them, they can still win us games. Hell, one of the reasons why we win games now is because of our defense. But if we had a competent offense, our defense, even where it is now, with no improvements, is good enough to win you games. Not good enough to win a Super Bowl. They're not that good yet. We still have a lot of needs on the defensive side of the ball. But we got to see a competent offense. We haven't seen one in like 5 years now. We need a competent offense. So to me, there's going to be a position on the defense that gets sacrifice. It's either going to be corner or linebacker in my opinion. I think you can get it's a really good safety class, and safeties tend to fall because of the positional value. So I think we could get a good safety in the third or fourth round, especially like I said, we have two fourth round picks. So I think we could get a good safety. I think either linebacker is going to get sacrificed, maybe corner. I highly doubt they're going to skip on corner because corner is such a huge need for us. But again, they do have Corey Trice in their back pocket. If the board doesn't fall the way they want it to, they might say, screw it. We might just take a chance on Corey Trice. I don't know. We won't see till May, but still. But yeah, that's the video. You can find me at Never for Brett Me. That's NEVA underscore the number four BRETT underscore ME on Instagram and Twitter. We are the Dope Blog on Twitter, the underscore Dope Blog on Instagram and Threads. The We're at the dope.blog. And join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence. Go Steelers. Peace.